Health Monday from Marble City Pharmacy. Jacob Johnson joins us this morning. He's soloing today as Jared is recovering from the Auburn loss to Alabama Saturday, and I guess it's kind of difficult, right?
He's struggling. Yeah. Many years of work need to be done there.
Yeah. Hey, let's talk about something that's really a serious issue, and that is liver disease. Kind of define what is liver disease.
It's a pretty general term. Liver disease refers to a number of different conditions that y'all have heard of that causes either short and or long-term damage to your liver. It can end in complete liver failure and the need for liver transplant, so a wide spectrum there. But examples of liver disease that are terms people know: liver cancer, obviously, hepatitis, cirrhosis, fatty liver disease. Those are the four probably most common, at least that people have heard of or heard someone mention at church or some family member or something. But yeah, lots of different types of liver disease, but they all kind of act and look the same way.
So, we don't sit around and talk about what the purpose of a liver is, but what does a healthy liver do?
Yeah, you can't know what liver disease is. You know what my liver's supposed to be doing, right? I tried to divide it into just the most basic categories I could, because the liver does a number of things, and some are way deep in the weeds. Try to avoid that for here, right? So the three things I kind of divided into: it helps in our food digestion. It helps, and this is kind of an odd one people don't think of, it helps make the clotting factors that keep our blood not too thick, not too thin, keep that really delicate balance. The liver is in charge of making those clotting factors. But what most people know the liver as, and it's the most important function, is it's kind of our filter. As the blood passes through it, and blood always circulates, heart, lungs, liver's in that process, goes through every time, it's pulling out toxins, waste products, all these things in our body from things we ingest or things that the body itself is breaking down. The liver's pulling those out of our system and getting rid of them. So it's pulling the poisons out of your blood all the time. That's probably the easiest way to say what your liver's doing. It's that level of filter for you.
God had to be pretty smart to put all this stuff together, didn't he?
A little bit smarter than us.
Absolutely.
A little bit smarter than us.
So, what causes liver disease?
Lots of different things, and some of which are much more rare. Genetics. You can be born with something that just you have a liver disease. That's pretty rare. Autoimmune diseases that attack your liver. Those are relatively rare. But the things that we can think about and do something about. Viruses cause a lot of liver disease. You've heard of hepatitis. Hepatitis is virus. Hepatitis A, hepatitis B, hepatitis C, those are different viruses. And those come from different ways. They can come through blood, and that's often in terms of drug injections, illicit drug use, even tattoos and piercings. That's pretty common. You can get hepatitis from unclean food, unclean water. You can get it from unprotected sex. You can get hepatitis in a lot of different ways. Cancer obviously can cause liver disease. Cancer of the liver or your bile duct is going to cause you to have long-term liver disease. Alcohol, everyone knows that. Alcohol is terrible for your liver. It can be long or short-term, but you end up with cirrhosis and liver failure with alcohol very often. Toxins and drugs, and even good drugs, prescription drugs, taken too much or for too long, or sometimes it's just you're predisposed to it, can lead to liver disease, liver failure. And last is, and people hate when we pick on this, but it seems like we list it every week, is obesity. Being overweight for too much, too long, causes your liver to have too much fat to try to process through and causes fatty deposits in your liver and leads to all sorts of function problems.
This is not in our notes this morning, but where physically is the liver in one's body?
Good question. Just below your rib cage on your right side.
Okay.
There's your liver. It sits right there.
All right. Good morning to our liver this morning. Right?
Yes, beautiful liver spot right here.
So, we've talked about some of the causes of liver disease. What about some of the symptoms?
Fortunately, unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, there's very little symptoms for a long time, more often than not. If you do have short-term symptoms from something going wrong with your liver, like hepatitis virus or something, very general things. It could be like fever, nausea, little right side pain right here, fatigue and malaise. I think I have fatigue and malaise every day. So, they're kind of non-specific, very general symptoms that usually go away in a few days, and you kind of write it off and you don't think long about it. But over time, Later stages of liver disease are the things that we always think of as clear signs that we really know something's wrong. You get jaundice, yellowing skin, yellowing of the eyes, right? Anything that's supposed to be, light colored starts to yellow on you. Your urine gets darker and your poop gets lighter. So the colors change in an opposite direction. You get this really, really itchy skin with no rash and no reason. I'm just itching all over. That's late stage liver disease often. Brain impairment. All these toxins that you're not getting rid of now travel somewhere, and you get really fuzzy headed. It's called, the long term, this is your word for today, hepatic encephalopathy.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
Use that often.
Use it every day. Yeah, that's that fuzzy brain impairment from liver disease. And then last, you have a lot of trouble digesting fatty foods. You have a lot of GI problems with late stage liver disease and mid and late stage liver disease.
Is liver disease, is it often caught late in the game, so to speak?
It is, because there's not symptoms early on more often than not. Yeah, it's just by the time we know something's going on, you have a level of irreversible liver disease. Now, that sounds like a death sentence, and it's not. Liver is an extremely resilient organ and fixes itself more often than not. But when you get that permanent mid to late stage liver disease, even when you catch it, you manage it usually for decades. I mean, it's not this horrible death sentence immediately, usually.
Okay. So how do you prevent liver disease?
Fortunately, lots of ways. The primary one that I say, because again, you don't know it early on a lot of times, is regular doctor visits. When they draw blood, there's all that stuff they're testing, and you get these results back with a bunch of letters, you don't know what they mean. A lot of those are liver tests. And so a doctor's going to catch it. If you see a doctor regularly and get blood work regularly, a doctor's going to see, hey, you're having some weird liver numbers. So way before it ever gets down the road and bad and irreversible, we can see some, hey, we need to look into this a little bit. So that's the easiest way, probably, just go to the doctor, right? But if you're high risk, medical worker, a lot of blood in your work, that kind of things, get vaccines for the viruses that cause liver disease. Hepatitis A and B vaccines available, pretty regularly. You drink alcohol only in moderation or not at all to keep the alcohol damage from your liver down. Avoid risky behaviors that we talked about, the causes of hepatitis. Avoid those things. Be real picky about your tattoos and piercings and where you get them. Only take medications in the prescribed amount, or if it's over the counter, in the on the box amount. Don't overdo. Wash your food and hands before you eat. If you're eating raw food, wash the food. You can get contamination from food that causes it. Protect your skin and face from toxic chemicals if you work in a hazardous environment. And finally, just maintain a healthy weight. Yeah. If you do these things, especially if you're going to the doctor and getting blood work, you're going to know before we get way down the road of liver disease.
So what other treatments?
Unfortunately, treatment is often just management, because if we catch it late, we can't get back what we've lost. It's there. But management can last for decades upon decades. And it depends on the specific cause. Again, if it's a virus, antivirals. If it's, an immune disease, immune drugs. And you take away the cause. Alcohol, drug use, whatever. You get rid of as much of the cause as you can. If it's obesity, we got to lose a lot of weight. But you get rid of the causes and you manage the symptoms. You manage the itching with itching medicines. You manage the fuzzy brain with drugs that help you pull some of the toxins out that are causing that. So there are very non-specific drugs we use in liver disease, but the goal is, let's take away whatever we think is causing it as much as we can. Let's limit that, and let's limit the things that add more to it, like the weight, the obesity, things like that. And again, you just manage it, and you can manage it, as you say, for decades upon decades.
Now, I've even heard of, I think I have, liver transplants.
Yes. Yeah. I know somebody fairly well that roughly my age had arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, had to take injectable drugs for that. And the drugs themselves, over time, damaged her liver to the point she ended up nearly dying and had to have a liver transplant. Wow. So she's roughly my age, rocking a liver transplant from a prescribed arthritis drug.
Which you would think was safe, safe,
Yeah, you would think so. And unfortunately, that was even a known potential problem from that drug. It's like, we have to do this. Let's see. And they watched it as best they could, but over time, it deteriorated. And so it's real. We didn't say this earlier. It's roughly 2% of Americans have chronic liver disease. So 2 out of every 100 people you pass, something's going on with that liver that's a chronic problem that they're having to manage, and you just don't know it.
Yeah. Well, if people watching this morning, maybe something you touched on this morning has kind of maybe turned the light on in their mind, they want to check into this, I guess you're available to answer their questions?
Yes, they can call the store, they can stop by, we can definitely talk about it. I would, the first thing I would encourage most of them to do, first question is, well, how long has it been since you went to a doctor? And let's start there. There may be nothing wrong, there may be tons of things wrong, but let's start by regular doctor visits, and I can certainly talk with them about medicines that can add or make this worse, medicines to help this. We can definitely deal with that.
All right. Jake, thanks for coming this morning.
Always.
Jacob Johnson from Marble City Pharmacy and Health Monday. We talked liver disease this morning.